Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we are joined by Ethan Daffy. And tonight, we are previewing North Melbourne v Carlton at Marvel Stadium this Friday, Good Friday, the 18th of April, 3:20. And it's always a great cause being a part of the Good Friday footy. When was the first time that we've actually been? It was 2021, wasn't it? 2022 when we first joined? 2022, I think. I think that was when.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those two. I don't know if it was 2022 or 2023, but yeah, it was one of the two. But I mean, ever since we've kind of joined this marquee game, it's a great time to be a part of it. It used to be only the one Good Friday game, but now obviously they have the night game as well. But it's an absolute shit game, West Coast versus Essendon Bombers, Daffy boy. So first things first, mate, how are you and your initial thoughts ahead of this pretty crucial game somewhat to see if last week was a fluke? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm nervous about this game. I don't have any trust at all. I'm sure a lot of Carlton supporters, if not all Carlton supporters, do not have the trust at the moment for heading into games, especially this week. But yeah, no, it's a great cause. The Royal Children's Hospital, and seeing all the players head down to the hospital last week, well, not last week, but earlier this week. Putting a smile on those kids' faces. For me, it gives me a massive perspective, a lot of perspective. You couldn't imagine what they're going through, and I wish all those people and their families, all the kids and their families, all the best. And hopefully they, have a brighter year ahead. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game to be a part of. The atmosphere is always good. It's always a sold out, packed house at Marvel. They do it really well, North Melbourne. Obviously, it's their home game every year, and they run the whole thing. So they, shout out to them. But yeah, it's I really don't know what's going to happen this week. I'm, just a bit of a spoiler. I will be tipping us, but I'm not fully trustworthy of this team at the moment. Like you said, it could be a bit of a one-hit wonder last week, playing a complete rabble, which is the West Coast Eagles. So. I'm excited, but I'm also a little bit worried that our season could be on the ropes if we lose this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been more like the past week with our win against West Coast. The conversation's been more about West Coast and how shit they actually were.
Yeah.
So you probably would expect that because they were very, very poor. And I don't know if it looked worse because we played somewhat decent. I don't think we were anywhere near our best, but I think that's almost a good thing as well because we can get a win by 71 points and there's a lot of things to improve 100%. On. And I just feel like we'll love to say week by week, and I just feel week by week we are improving. I think like the week after Hawthorn when we lost to the Tigers, like that was probably the worst. And then week after against Hawthorn, I don't think Hawthorn were at their best, and I don't think we were as well. I think the week after against the Dogs, we were a little bit better. Yeah. Week after against the Pies, we were a little bit better with other assets. I think the overall game against the Pies was probably the worst out of probably Hawthorn, Dogs, and that Pies game. That was probably the worst one out of the three. Mm-hmm. But there were still other assets we were like, yeah, we like to see that. And then obviously last week with beating West Coast and kind of everything looking a lot better, that's probably week by week improving. And then like I know last week was more to do with West Coast and how shit they actually were. But once again, it's another test this week where in past years, we kind of viewed this game against North Melbourne like we viewed West Coast last week and how poor they are. But now North Melbourne are actually looking half decent. I don't think that we still well and truly, if we are being serious right now, should be winning this game. And I will give my spoiler as well. I'm definitely tipping us.
Yes.
I think we're $3. I think North Melbourne are $3 to win it. I think we're a dollar. I don't even know what that would mean. I think $1.60 you're saying. I don't know too much about the odds, but I would assume that would be like, that's probably people would assume North Melbourne would be a little bit closer in. Like for them to be $3, you probably would expect them to be about $2.70, $2.60. I'm not too sure. So people might say that as like, oh, I might put some money on that. But it's like, we kind of know that Carlton have been playing against better opponents than what North Melbourne have been. And
Mm,
who have they beaten? They've beaten Melbourne and that's it. They've only had
yeah,
one win, haven't
yeah, and I think the Melbourne win looks worse and worse as the weeks
they?
go by.
Yes.
Just the well, they're at the moment they are an abomination. They are struggling. They're not playing at all near the ability of some of those players can. It's a different situation to West Coast, but they're in the same position, 0-5. So yeah, like you said, they haven't really fired a shot against the good. They were good for 3 quarters against the Suns. They were actually quite good on the weekend. And just that last quarter, they've just got those fade outs still, where you give up 7-8 goals in the last quarter. We know that. We've been a part of that kind of growth where you have a good 3 quarters and you go, okay, we're in this game, and then you let it slip. So, and then the Sydney game, they were horrendous. So that's what's making me a little bit nervous, Pato, because these teams that are on the rise in seasons, where North have come from to now, they seem to pinch a game or two that,
Yeah.
maybe they're the underdog. So hopefully it's not this week.
Yeah, and usually they do start the season quite well, and I don't know
Yes.
if this is a bit of a different look to North Melbourne where they kind of do kind of get into the season and then they start to play their best football. But
Mm.
I just think this is the perfect game for them to kind of come out, and they are playing against a side who is coming off a win as well, so they've
Yeah.
kind of now got
Yeah.
nothing to really lose. And last week they lost to Gold Coast, but like people would say, oh yeah, it was a somewhat a good showing from North Melbourne. I wouldn't think that
Mm.
at all.
Mm.
Like they got ran over in that second half by Gold Coast, who obviously are very good,
Yes. Yes.
but like that was
No.
very
Yeah.
like quite like confronting situation for North
Mm.
Melbourne because they brought in a guy like Zach Fisher that we spoke about before the episode started about how they do have a few halfback flankers who don't actually defend.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big issue for them. And coming up against us now with, I mean, we have Charlie down there, but hopefully a few other forwards who can actually make an impact. Obviously, we don't have Mackay and Kemp, but hopefully we can have a few guys down there that can make an impact and really test these halfback flankers. And if they don't defend, that can
Mm.
like that's something that they need to be. I think they need to be looking at from a North Melbourne point of view. They need to be looking at extremely this way. But before we move on to the injury list, I just wanted to ask you and like make sure at the end of the episode, when the episode is off, you need to ask your old man if Christian Petrarca is playing midfield for the rest of the season. Because I want to bring him in this week from our super coach. And he's cheap as chips, Daffy boy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
need to bring him in, but I'm not going to bring him in if he's playing forward. So make sure when the episode ends, make sure to ask your old man because I need to know if he's playing midfield. So if he is, Christian Petrarca, welcome. And we might even see you at Carlton next year, mate.
Yeah. Well, that was. You look at it now and you go, maybe they should have
Yeah.
traded out one of Clary or Petrarca. I understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like it's hard to get rid of those guys, but gee, I wondered if they got to the point where they offered him to us, and I'd love to know what we would have done because it's a sliding doors moment. It's just more, and we were all like, oh no, no, but gee. Gee whiz, Pato. It's a midfielder who can literally play up forward as well. So yeah, that's a thing of the past, and I don't think it's going to happen in the future now.
Yep. And it probably would be the perfect player because that means that Paddy Cripps would pretty much be a full-time ruckman, mate. So it's pretty much a win-win. But let's now move on to the injury list, Daffy boy.
Mm,
And obviously you have the injury list in front of you, and there are some pretty big
mm.
names that are missing. And unfortunately, there's a certain player that actually will not be featured for the rest of the season. So Daffy boy, injury list, injury updates. What have you got?
Yeah, it's a shocker. It's probably just been kind of told half an hour ago that I think we were all kind of expecting this result, but Brody Kemp will miss the remainder of the season with a ruptured Achilles, which is shattering because he's kind of found his spot, I guess, in the side. He had issues with his knee a couple of years ago, which kind of he missed his draft year. So, we wish him a speedy recovery. It's going to leave a hole. It's another key position player out of the team, if you include Harry as well, which is more short term. But yeah, we wish him all the best with his recovery. I'll quickly ask you before I continue. What does this mean for the team now? Because I guess it's a makeshift defender going forward. What does our team look like now without a third tall forward down there?
It's a tough one because we've kind of always had that, haven't we? Like last year, we had it for periods of the season with Jack Martin, but if not, it was Elijah Hollins, and the year before was Jack Silvani
Yeah.
alongside with Mackay and Kerno. So I think it's something that's been really like evident within Carlton for the past few years.
Yep.
And it's something that I think we need to actually look at extremely. And obviously, we will touch on that a lot more in depth in the ins and outs, whether we do play like a guy like Pitton and send TDK forward, or we just bring in a guy like Lewis Young, who's kind of been playing that forward role to maybe tag. I know, like I don't really want to say it, but like a Charlie Cobden, if he's even taggable. I don't even know if he's really up to that standard now of being a taggable player. But I mean, even if you really go outside of left field and really play Patrick Cripps as a main stay forward, or even something that we kind of both can see happening is bringing Lewis Young and having Jack Silvani playing as a forward again. And obviously knowing that Harry Mackay should be back within the next few weeks, and having Kerno, Mackay, Silvani back as that three, like as the trio that we saw a couple of years ago, it kind of makes me a little bit excited. But like knowing that Jack Silvani might not be the defender that he's been doing so well purely because there's injuries, I think that's actually a good thing, because you can have him as that swingman where if like finals time, like these players actually thrive. And I'm not saying we're anywhere near looking at finals, but if we do make a final series this year, or even heading into next year, this type of player like a Jack Silvani, but also Brody Kemp on the other side, where he can be a forward and swing back. So I think it's great that both these guys have kind of learnt the craft, and now Jack Silvani knows how to play forward. He's been a forward his whole life, and for him to learn the defensive craft and actually do it quite well within the first 5 games, I think that's great that he's a quick learner and he knows. And if he needs to be pushed back, we can also trust him as well. So right now, I'm not exactly sure, and that's why the ins and outs will be tough. But right now, I just think we have to really we have to consider having a taller forward line, and potentially that might be Jack Silvani being swung forward.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good answer. There's so many options that we could, play. And this is not, I think this is more a week by week thing. I think there's no set in stone. I always say at the beginning of the year, the whole best 22 thing is irrelevant, because you're never going to have the same 22 guys on the team every single week. And, based on our form and based on our injuries, I think every week we've had a change. So, which is not great. It doesn't show great continuity, but I think there was a streak at one point where I think we hadn't had an unchanged team for a 12-month period or whatever. But yeah, it's I'll continue with the other injuries. We've got a few other updates. Obviously, Harry, I think he'll be available next week, but it says round 7 to 8 with a concussion. Geez, he looked worse for wear in that song. He looked in good spirits, which was good. Yeah. Lockie Cowan with his hamstring that he hurt in the game against Collingwood. He'll be out till round 8 minimum. Alex Chincotta, he hasn't featured this year, but he's rounds 9 to 10 with a hip that he's had an issue with. Fantasia, he's got a calf that seems to be a lingering career injury. He won't be assessed till round 9, which won't mean he's coming back round 9 at all. So that's another one it's like, come on, man. It's not his issue. It's not his fault, sorry. It is his issue.
Yeah.
Not his fault, but, it's frustrating. And then obviously Kempy with the Achilles. But other than that, there's no other injuries to follow up on. Another one actually coming to mind is the whole Akers situation. I think he'll be back this week, and he had an illness, but was in the rooms after the game, which was quite interesting to look at. I think if he had an illness, I don't think he'd be around the playing group, Patto.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned that after the episode ended in the review. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, like we obviously didn't touch on it in the review episode, but yeah, very funny one that's very unusual. And maybe it was something that just wasn't contagious, but let's be real, a lot of illnesses now are quite contagious. And especially if it's not contagious, it usually means that if you're sick, you're not even able to get out of bed.
Yes.
So it's like what's he doing there at the game? And I'm not too sure. Like maybe it was just too hot, and maybe like the illness kind of led to like he maybe couldn't have gotten through the game with that illness. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I, we said the exact same thing about Harry Mackay a few weeks ago about having illness, and you'll bloody hope that it's not a personal issue because they have done this before where it says a personal issue illness, and we say, oh come on Harry, like get through it, mate. But the week
mm,
after we see that it's a personal issue. So I'm hoping that I mean by now we probably would have heard if it
yeah,
was a personal issue. So hopefully there is nothing wrong with Akers, and hopefully he is available this week. But before we do move on to the injury list, Daffy Boy, I was just going to ask earlier about how I guess like how you see the whole Mackay situation,
yeah,
and like he's now had a few concussions now,
yeah,
and it is starting to become a bit of a issue. And the guy that he hit, I think was I think his name's Tom Gross, I think from
yes,
West
yeah,
Coast, and it was a head clash. So it obviously was a very serious hit, and Gross actually played out the rest of the game, no
yeah,
issue.
yeah,
So how do you see that? Obviously, Mackay is a bigger opponent. He's a more mature opponent. He's a more experienced opponent. And Gross is playing in his first season of AFL football. So how do you see that? Like the way that Mackay, he was down for a minute. Like it's not like he was down and
mm,
like he got straight back up and then he felt a little bit funny. He was down for a minute. He couldn't get up. So how do you see that? Because now the concussion is such a serious injury, a part of the AFL right now with the like McCartan a few years ago,
yeah.
and like there's a lot of issues now with concussion, and now this is not his first one. It's I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably over five, which is it four now?
Yep,
I
yep.
thought
I read an article today. Yep.
I thought he had multiple in 2021 though.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've just read an article today. It said 4 in 5 years or something like that.
Oh, 4 and 5. Yeah, okay. Maybe he had a few more before the 5 years. I'm not too sure, but I know that if Mackay was injured, it usually like then
Hmm.
it's a good chance that he was concussed because he has had issues before. So it is now coming like it's now kind of a serious conversation we need to like have about Mackay. So do you think we can almost manage him this week and make sure he's 100% right, or if there's no kind of setbacks and kind of like I guess yeah, like I'll say setbacks with a concussion. Do you think we should manage this now that Mackay's up to his fourth concussion in 5 years?
Hmm.
Do you think that could be something that could be seen within the Carlton Football Club towards Harry Mackay trying to manage him? Or I think we both have the same opinion about this. He is so important that I don't think we can
Hmm.
just manage a guy like this. So what's your thoughts on that whole situation?
I just think it was a coincidence that it was Harry. I think you look in football, and a lot of times there's a head clash. There's always one worse off, and it's funny that it's the bigger guy, but it's not. That's got nothing to do with it. It's a brain thing, and I don't think it's because it's Harry. Um, but yeah, it is intriguing. It was just unlucky for me. That's just the way I look at it. And if it keeps continue to happen, like you said, if it keeps occurring and occurring and occurring, that's when I'll be like, okay, there's a bigger, wider issue happening. But I think it was more of a unlucky head knock. But yeah, in terms of his concussion, um, yeah, he's got to be right, obviously, to play. But I don't think we can miss any more games than this week with him. And that's, of course, for me, you got to make sure he's right
Yeah,
to play. But if he's right to play, he needs to be out there.
yeah,
He's missed enough games the last 4 weeks, and obviously
yeah,
it's a
you're right.
separate issue and nothing against that issue, but he is crucial. We have only had one quarter this year with him and Charlie on the ground together. Like that is ridiculous.
Mm,
That is ridiculous. And they've both missed. So it wasn't like just Harry out. Charlie missed round one. He rested. He wasn't right for round two either. Let's be real. He was almost forced to play in term because he's so important. But yeah, it's an intriguing situation. But fingers crossed, it's not ends up being a long term situation.
mm. Round two was when Harry Mackay pulled out with illness, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so literally the only quarter was Kurto and Mackay
Yes.
last week.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
So
that doesn't help.
yeah, no, of course
Like
not.
I'm not saying, we haven't been good enough, but if Harry was playing the Dogs game, I can guarantee you we would have won.
Yes.
Not guarantee, but it would have. Gee, it would have. Like we had how many more I know inside fifties is kind of turning into a rubbish stat at the moment. I feel like some of the teams have less inside fifties are the better sides, but you look at that game and the last quarter we need someone to break the game open in the last quarter and win us the game and take a big clunk and kick a goal, and he wasn't out there. So it's personnel is a massive thing in football.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw 360 last night and they had a stat about Melbourne and their
Oh
inside
yeah,
50s.
yeah, it's
And
ridiculous.
it is unbelievable how like they literally get it to the exact point on the ground when most teams are best at,
Yeah,
and like they just can't do anything with it.
yeah,
It's
yep.
unbelievable.
Their
Like,
ball use isn't good enough, and they don't have a key forward that's good enough.
yeah.
Like that,
And
it shows you how much a little thing can lead to so much. Like they're not like that's what I mean with the situation with them and West Coast. They're a totally different situation.
totally.
That's why the Melbourne's. That's why the pressure's on the coach.
Yeah.
That's why the pressure's on the coach
Yeah.
because you're getting all. And like I said with the inside 50 count, I think we've won it a few times this year. It's the way Melbourne are winning their inside 50s, a lot of hack kicking forward. It's a lot of hack kicking. It's a lot of rush it on the boot. Vine, he does it a lot. Players like that. And we did it a lot at the start of the season. You go, oh my God, we won the inside 50 by 25. But
Doesn't
none of them
matter.
were none of them were. I'd rather the quality. I'd rather, of course, it's great to have more inside 50s, but if you're getting 20 and losing, it's really, it's redundant. It is
Yeah.
redundant.
Yeah. And like that's why another stat as well was the if efficiency with the inside 50s and the two most efficient teams with inside 50s and scoring. So every single time they go in, most of the time they're scoring. It was Gold Coast and Hawthorn.
There you go.
So those were the two teams that don't actually get a hell of a lot of the inside 50s,
Mm.
but they're fucking scoring.
Yep.
So like in Gold, don't think there's enough conversation about going to Gold Coast. I think they are
Yeah.
seriously good, and like their
They've had a
list.
lot. They've had a light draw. They've been
Oh
good, but their
yeah,
draw has been pretty fucking light.
yeah, but it's also like they've had so much support over the past few years. You would bloody hope
Oh,
that they're
absolutely.
good. So it's
Mm.
now it's not really a surprise. We're kind of like surprised that they've actually done it, but it's
Yeah.
like we're not surprised because their list is like my good golly, like their list they've been supported a lot,
Yeah.
and I think AFL are finally like, oh, finally that's
Yeah.
not an issue
Yeah.
anymore. But you just hope that they can actually go on and make something out of this season.
Mm.
But yeah, I found that very very interesting about the inside 50 counts, and like it kind of shows that I think the top three were Melbourne, Carlton, and think there was another good side. Like it was a side that like obviously gets it in a lot, but they're
Scoring.
scoring more than what
Yep.
Carlton and Melbourne are. So I think it may have been like an Adelaide or saying.
Yep.
And
Yep.
like they get a few inside 50s, and when they actually go in, they obviously like would lace out a Thilthorpe and how how handy Thilthorpe would be for a Melbourne. Like
Oh,
just a key
absolutely.
forward. He's
That's
just
all
a
they
key
need. They need a Mackay. They need a McKerno or a Thilthorpe or a Fogarty,
yeah, Fogarty. Yeah.
Oscar Allen, any of those types of players. They don't even need a superstar. I know it's not D's chat, but it shows you one player can be so crucial to your
Crucial.
structure.
Crucial.
And they just have not done that in any sort of free agency. I know it's tough when it's not a destination club, but they just haven't. They could have gone for a Membry. They could have gone for just someone just to be there to support a Van Rooyen who's still 20, 21 years old.
Yeah, yeah, spot on. So Daft Boy, let's now move on to the ins and outs. It is a bit, I guess, better doing it off a win because we aren't swinging the axe anymore. We aren't saying this guy's shitty, he needs to go back to the VFL, but we unfortunately do have two force changes that we do have to make.
Yep.
But it's kind of up to us if we were the coaches, if there's any other names that we would drop, and maybe maybe we might bring in a player from the VFL who's been performing quite well, like a Matt Carroll who performed last week.
Yep.
There's another player who in the VFL that might be performing that might need to be featured this Friday. But Duff, your ins and outs this week, including the sub, who have you got?
Yeah, I've trialed so many different things. I don't want to go overboard. I think my two outs going to be the two injured players.
Yep.
So no one will be dropped from my ins and outs, but I'm not saying not against anyone being dropped for a good reason, obviously. But yeah, Mackay and Kemp out for me. And my ins, fingers crossed, Akers is back. By the sounds of it, he will be. So he'll come back in to the side, and I've got Mark Pitternet coming in to the team. We speak about it's almost the most spoken about topic on Baggers Chat, Mark Pitternet, which is funnily enough, out of all the players we talk about, it's just in terms of the ruck duo with him and TDK is the most talked about thing. But my reasoning for me with Pitternet, and you could make a case for, Lewis Young coming in, Silvani going forward and pinch hitting in the ruck, whatever. My thinking is I want to keep Sauce in defence.
Yeah.
I think he's the second. I think he can take the second best forward now with the Wiedering. I think, and then you can let Haynes and that float on smalls and mid-sized forwards and stuff like that. So Pitternet comes in. He plays in the middle against the Sherry, and I've got TDK starting up forward, being the deep forward. This is when Charlie, we spoke about in the review, how he's playing so high up the ground. When you've got a TDK sitting deep, Patto, then Charlie can be that guy and feed a TDK or feed whoever's up there. But we just did not have that last week. And he was playing so high, and it did work at certain occasions because Charlie's a gun and he can lace out any person, any size, any ability from anywhere on the ground. But when you've got TDK down there, he doesn't need to be lacing him out. We just need to have a target there for Charlie to hit to, and I'm sure he can lace that out. But I think it throws a spanner in the works for North Melbourne. I'm not sure who they go to. Like there's Comben, well, they got Griffin Logue. I'd imagine Griffin Logue and Core will take the two best, and Comben will take the third. I think he'd be more the intercept type because I think he's one of the worst in terms of stat-wise one-on-one players in the game for goals scored. I think last year he was the worst one-on-one player, just like in particular one-on-ones in the game. Not saying he's a bad player, but when he's in one-on-ones, I don't think he's going to be on a Curno, Patto. So Core probably goes to TDK, I'd imagine, and then Griffin Logue. Griffin Logue's good. He'd be all right on Curno, and he has been out the last two Good Friday clashes, so he'll go to Curno for sure, which was the matchup when he was at Freo as well. So it's going to be an interesting watch.
Yep, absolutely spot on. I do like the changes you've made, and I think it is quite, I guess, like you probably would expect it to happen.
Yep.
Let's be real. And like you probably don't really want to make too many changes coming off a 71-point win.
No.
And I'm making 3.
Yep. I'm interested. And also my sub is Cooper Lord.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting. It's actually like I'm kind of looking at the side. So every single time I make the ins and outs, I actually also rearrange the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 23 that I've got in front of me, and I'm kind of looking at it and the way that I've gone. So outs, I've got Mackay, Kemp, Cooper Lord.
Okay.
Out.
Yep. I know who you're bringing in.
Akers.
I know who you're bringing in.
Lewis Young.
I know who the next one is.
Elijah Hollins. So
yes.
So if I bring in Elijah Hollins, he can play as sub,
and he can go in. So you can put someone to the sub. So like you can put Will White to the sub.
Yeah,
and then put Elijah Hollins to replace White.
So no. So I will keep Elijah Hollins as sub.
Okay, sweet.
So the reason for that is I think I like the team that I've formed, and the only changes I've made is Silvani going forward and Lewis Young going back.
Yep.
So the reasoning for that, and now I completely agree about Pitnet. And the way that
Yeah.
you've explained it, like Cherry is not looking good at the moment in terms of like ever since his injury against Adelaide and he's kind of
Yes.
was forced to play the rest of the game out against O'Brien. Yeah, he hasn't really looked right.
Yeah.
So I love how I think all due respect to North Melbourne, but I think that only thing that's really working for them at the moment is their midfield. Other than that, their forward line isn't great, other than probably like a Larky or a Jack
Yeah.
Darling who's actually doing solid. Their defense is another story, and I don't think they're doing extremely well back there anyway.
No.
So Pitnet playing against Cherry as that is the ruck matchup.
Yeah.
And then you have a Cherry who is quite underdone coming up against a fresh Tom DeConning halfway through the quarter.
Yeah.
Is very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that means that Pitnet comes off and you can manage Pitnet.
Yeah.
Manage
So have
Pitnet.
you got him in?
No.
No, I was going to say.
I don't have him in, but the way that I'm saying it is so
if he is picked.
And I'm more looking at it as like I see that you can manage Pitto.
Yeah.
But I'm more seeing it as Kemp is now out. We need to find that third tall, and that third tall is Jack Silvani.
Yep.
I still think our backline is too tall.
Yes.
I'm looking at and it's not even I'm looking at North Melbourne's forward line. I'm looking at the forward line in general. I think Nick Haynes can be that second tall, 100%.
Yeah, I get you.
So I think he can be that second tall, and I feel like it would be interesting to see what would happen if Kemp wasn't injured. Because if Kemp wasn't injured, I don't think we would even be having this conversation. No. And of course, Kemp being injured is not great at all, but it might be somewhat a blessing in disguise for this side to now actually sort out the correct structure.
Yep.
And so you kind of move, like Matt Carroll can play in the back line, and he's a tall guy. So he can be that interceptor and kind of replace a Jack Silvani, and then Jack Silvani slides forward.
Yeah.
And Lewis Young is still playing back. So I don't know if I want Lewis Young 100% in the side. The other reason why he's in right now is to play a second ruck.
Yep.
Because I don't think Cherry will be as much as a threat. But if Cherry was 100% fit, I feel like you probably would have to play Pitnet. Yeah. So I'm more seeing it as like he's not as fine. Tom DeConning's not doing shit at all.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, and I'm so intrigued to see what will happen this week because I don't know if they'll go down the road of like Cherry's underdone, bring in Pitnet and just absolutely smash the midfield, or you've got Tom DeConning who's playing well, play him, play Lewis Young as a second ruck. We know that Cherry's not going to be 100% fit.
Yep.
And then we bring in a Jack Silvani who can slide forward and really test their back line. I'm not too sure, but hearing that. What's your thoughts overall? I'm more looking towards long term. And I think if you're fucking around with Jack Silvani too much, it's tough because I feel like it's either you say this week, Jack Silvani, you are sliding forward and you will be a forward for the rest of the season unless there's an injury down back. Now there's an injury up forward. Silvani, you slide forward. Yep. Mackay comes back next week or the week after. 3 talls, Silvani, Curnow, Mackay. So what's your thoughts overall on that sort of structure?
Yeah, no, I agree. That would have been my second option. But I feel like my decision is because I don't want Sauce to be fucked around.
Yes, exactly right.
And I think he's playing really well in defence. So I don't know if we need 3 talls if Harry and Charlie are playing. I don't know if we need... I think their ability is good enough. Like, I'm not saying, like, I wouldn't count Elijah Hollins as a tall.
No.
Like he'd be the third forward or whoever. So it's, for me, if those 2 are playing, obviously they're not playing this week. So that's obviously not the discussion we're having for this week. But if they are playing, I don't think we need Sauce up forward. But I think there'll be certain games where you might. And like you said, he's the swing man. And I know I don't want to fuck him around, but he has to plug holes at some stage. So... But then he's playing well in defence. And I've said this for the whole season. There's no good teams in the league that are playing makeshift players all over the ground. And we were doing that at the start of the season with Lewis Young playing forward, even to an extent. I know Kemp was training as a forward, but he is a makeshift forward. he is a makeshift forward. I know he's playing as a forward and he was, getting in, his straps and, playing well. But, we were playing guys out of position in certain positions. Like there was Doherty was playing all sorts of positions. Like we weren't locked in. We weren't locked in going, this is it. This is the side. With the Giants, you got Buckley and Taylor and they're going to be playing there every week.
Yeah.
And I know it's a different situation because they don't have the fucked up injuries we do.
Mm.
But I think my thinking is let's just give Sauce finally some continuity in a position. But I wouldn't be against him playing forward. So it's such a weird position, but I think it's a good position because Boss, he can change it in game.
Yeah.
You could select Lewis Young, play him as a forward for the first half,
And then switch around.
yeah, like that's the positive as well. But yeah, I do like your selections.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's more the Silvani like I'm more seeing it as like you've experimented, like you've tried Silvani over the preseason and he's done great.
Yeah.
He's done great, but I kind of see Silvani more as a makeshift defender at the moment.
Yeah,
Because him going forward in the first few games of the season, he was probably our only forward who was actually showing something.
Yeah.
It's so tough because it's great that we have a player that can slide forward and do a role and slide back and do a role.
Yeah.
And I think right now, and I think he actually likes being that. Well, I don't know if he likes being it. I don't know if he likes being that player who kind of gets shifts around a lot. But I'm just more looking at it at like, I feel like Silvani needs to be a forward right now.
Yeah.
And it's, I might be completely wrong. But my question is, so do you see Pitnet being a consistent contributor in this side for the rest of the year? Like, do you see Tom DeConning being a 50-50 split and Pitnet actually being a part of this side right now? Now that he's back and fit and should be available for selection, do you see Pitnet actually being a part of this side right now?
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
But I think for games like this, when you've got personnel up like forward of the ball, like when Harry's playing, he plays in the ruck. So Pitnet is redundant. You don't need him.
Yeah.
But when he's out, you've almost got to chuck because Tom has the ability to go forward.
Yeah.
And he's not Harry Mackay. He's not going to be Harry Mackay. But he has the ability and his skill to kick a bag. He does. And I don't know who mans him up in defence. That's my thinking. But with Pitnet, I think it's a really week by week who we're playing. Do they have two rucks? When you play Freo, you probably play Pitnet because of Darcy, or they're two rucks or whatever. But yeah, I feel like they pick him every week when he's available. I think Voss likes the whole Pitnet contested, we win clearances when he's playing type mode. But he's also got his deficiencies as well, where around the ground he's not particularly. But then he's improved that part of his game as well. I think I'm very harsh on him.
Yeah.
I'm very harsh on him. I'm expecting him to be TDK, which no one is. So it's, in the whole TDK situation for next year, like, is he going to be at Carlton? What's that going to look like for Pitnet? So it's an intriguing game coming up in terms of matchups, but it's going to be intriguing off season to see, if TDK takes that lucrative offer, what are we going to do with our ruck stocks?
I will be honest, it seems like you're going more towards having TDK and Pitnet as a combination.
Yeah.
Because that means that you can open up Curnow and Mackay up forward and playing them only as a forward.
Yes.
And like that means it completely like finally we can actually move on from Cripper in the fucking ruck.
Yes.
So like I really don't know, and this is why it's such a conversation. That's why it's been such a conversation in like such a popular conversation within Baggers Chat, because we just don't know. Because we can see the pros and the cons for
100%.
Because you can see Tom DeConning as a sole ruckman, and he is a generational player. And we've seen how good he is as a sole ruckman. But with Pitnet sliding in, you've then got Tom DeConning who can play forward, actually contribute up forward. Yeah. Then also come in halfway through the quarter when the main ruckman is a little bit tired. You've got Tom DeConning who can come in and is fresh as a daisy, come in, dominate. But then you've got Curnow Mackay still waiting down forward, who is not leaving that forward 50. And that means that the issue of Kerno moving up the ground, it doesn't matter because you've got Mackay down there.
Doesn't matter if Harry pushes up, TDK would be down there.
You got TDK down there as well.
Yeah. So
it's such an interesting one.
It's the issue is we just haven't had Harry and Charlie fit.
Yeah.
And
we haven't had all of them fit. Let's be real.
I like Charlie going up the ground, but I dislike it when we don't have the personnel. Like last week, he was pushing up the ground too high, Charlie. He was getting the ball at 80 meters out when I want him marking it inside 20. So it's just, for me, like if we're going to go small, if we're not going to bring in Pitt and if we're not going to bring Lewis Young and we keep Silvani in defence, we might have to figure out a way to play small ball. So, that's another option as well. So
and it might help. It might help as well.
It could. I think small ball will suit them a little bit more in their defenders because I don't think our small forwards are impacting enough at the moment. So when we talk about Caleb Daniels and Zach Fishers, they won't have to be so stringent in their defence and really lock down if they're playing on a Fogarty who's really not impacting on the scoreboard. But yeah, the conversation could go on, Patto, but we don't have 7 hours to talk about our structure.
We might do like a 4-day preview, and then we will just stop it just before the games.
The bounce. We bring our laptop to the game.
Good golly. Now also my eye is. I have to say, I've been working all day. My eye is looking really bad at the moment. It looks like I've had something wrong with it, but
it's going through the walls, Patto.
But I don't even know what it is. Like we spoke about it before the episode. Like it's literally. I'm just tired. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but it's actually sore now. I was like, what the fuck's going on, Daffy boy?
Put in the hard yards, mate.
Putting in the hard yards, mate. It doesn't really look like it, but maybe it probably does now with my eye fucking looking like I don't even know. But let's now move on to the opposition watch, Daffy boy. And for the people who don't know what this is, we go through the back line, midfield, and forward line for the North Melbourne Football Club and touch on one player for each line that might be a bit of a threat come this Friday, Good Friday, this week, 3:20 at Marvel Stadium. So, Daff, as we always do, we'll start off with the back line for North Melbourne. Who have you got? There's a few players there. There's a few talls, few smalls, few guys who swing into the back line, to the midfield, to the forward line. There's a few utility types there. Who have you got as your watch?
Yeah, they've got so many types. They've got all sorts of guys rolling through there. We know Sheezel runs through there as well, and he plays every position on the ground. So, now for me, the one negative from the weekend, I know we played a high line and we pressed really high, was our transition.
Yeah.
I know we didn't leak that many goals, but we leaked a lot of shots on goal. They had 20 shots on goal. So that's not particularly fantastic. I know some of them can be rushed and some of them can be, pot shots from 50 metres out, but I think a guy that we really need to nail on and his ball use can really cut us up if he's on is Caleb Daniel.
Yeah.
I think if we let him get 30 and 15 of those are kick outs and 10 of those are little cheapy at half back, he could cut us up if we don't fix out that side of the game in transition, because I thought that was an issue, and that's been spoken about in a lot of the Carlton podcasts and just the whole football community. So yeah, Caleb Daniel for me.
Yep, completely agree. My opposition watch is Zach Fisher.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm fucking kidding.
Yeah,
There's no way I go with Zach Fisher. My good guy. I want him to play. More so for, like we mentioned it, defensively, they are not great. And Daniel's in the exact same position. Sheezel as well. Ben O'Sullivan, who's a first-year player who's been playing a bit of backline, in the exact same position. They've got 4 or 5 players that slide back and they do not defend. Literally, the only pure defenders is Comden, Core, Lowe,
and even Comben.
Well, Comden does defend.
He can defend, but he's an intercept marker. He's not a defense. I know,
but he does have he doesn't leave. Yeah, he does have an opponent.
Yes.
But like Luke McDonald is probably the only other one. Like Darcy Tucker is not a defender; he's a wingman. Yeah. Colby McKercher slides back, but he doesn't have a defensive-minded. No. Like, not a single bit. Dylan Stevens is the exact same thing.
Yeah, shocker of a player.
Oh yeah, shocker. And Zach Fisher, like the exact same thing. and this might come to bite me in the bum, the only real threat down there is Core and Logue. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like you can say, I probably will say Caleb Daniel will be my opposition watch because of what you said. I completely agree. We have to put some time into Caleb Daniel because he is so offensive minded that he can be crucial for North Melbourne moving the ball forward. And we know how good they are when they actually get the ball moving. And under the roof at Marvel Stadium, it can be a big threat. But if we put some time into these guys who have a lot of time defending, like the Cottrells, like the Fogartys, these guys who actually can lock these guys down, but also make an impact forward, this will be easy. And I feel like this is the only part of the game that might be a pure worry.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we've got all other assets kind of like we've kind of got it sorted at the moment. So right now, I'll say Caleb Daniel, but you can probably say a Core or a Logue because they're probably the two genuine defenders down there, and maybe a Compton to a stretch. But I mean, other than that, there's a lot of players down there in the North Melbourne backline that needs to have a serious look at themselves about trying to defend, because if they're a defender, they need to defend. It's like I'm a North Melbourne supporter, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like Clarko would be absolute. Like, what is the defensive coach doing? Well, I'm not too sure what the whole go is, and you can't just be offensive all the time. You can't be like that as an AFL side, and especially a side who wants to improve. If you're a defender, defend. It's pretty simple stuff. So, and like we had the exact same conversation about Sard. Like, he's 250-50, but now he's being more of that offensive defender. But he's that only player in the back line. All of our other defenders know how to defend.
Yeah.
So, that was my small rant about North Melbourne. I don't really know why, but I just thought I would make it clear. But yeah, I think Daniel is an opposition watch this week. But Duff, your midfield opposition watch for the North Melbourne Football Club, this is probably the one line that is a bit of a threat come this Friday afternoon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they got a lot of guys who roll through there. And I think a negative for them in terms of their defense is their team defense. I think team defense is almost the most important in the game. Being able to turn the ball over higher up the ground, because they don't have the ability to, because they've got a lot of offensive-based minded players, which is fine. Yeah. But I think they've almost got to rein it in a little bit. And but you know, I don't want to help them out. Hopefully they're horrendous defensively this weekend. But in their midfield, I really like their midfield. I think they've got a lot of guys who are rolling through there who are really nice players. For me, it's the older head. And I know he plays forward at certain stages. Luke Parker. Because I think he has the ability to hurt us in the middle of the ground and forward of the ball. So he's just that wise head. He's hard at it. I think him and George Hewitt would be a great matchup, just going head to head. They're obviously former teammates at the Swans. But yeah, he's just, I like Luke Parker.
Yeah, I do as well.
I really do. I really do. And it wouldn't have been surprised to me if we had a look at him in the past couple of years, just in terms of just an older head who's won games of football consistently, can play half forward, roll through the middle. And it was, I think, a couple of years ago, we were looking at him. We were interested in him when he was a free agent. Obviously, he's gone to North Melbourne. He'll be a coach when he retires at North Melbourne, so that's a good result for them. But yeah, he's my midfield watch.
Yeah, no, I like it. As you said, there are a few names through there, and I'll actually go with Tom Powell. I think he's a guy that is like quite a solid footballer. I think he's had a lot more opportunity in that midfield. And really you can say Harry Sheasel, you can say Colin McKercher, who kind of is a swingman. You can also say Luke Davies-Uniacke. I think he's been solid. Jai Simpkin as well. But I think I'll go Tom Powell. I know it might be a bit of an outsider option, but as I said, I think he's had a lot more opportunity in that midfield, and to have a bit more mid minutes over a guy like Jai Simpkin and Luke Parker, I think it kind of shows that they actually rate him quite highly. So I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to take the game away from us, but I think he definitely is a guy that if he gets that 25 to 30 touches, I think we definitely have to be very on high alert about that. So I'll go with Tom Powell for my midfield opposition watch. Now, Daff, their forward line opposition watch, there are a few players there as well. I know that there's a small forward there who's been quite good this season. There's a key forward who is quite an established key forward as well, but also experienced head who's come into the team this year as well.
Yeah, it's no, I like the look of their forward line.
Yeah.
I think they've built it quite nicely this year. They've got a lot of guys who are damaging, different types, mid, tall, small, which is good to see. And it was on show when they played Melbourne. They all chipped in really well, and they all chipped in last week when they weren't bad offensively last week. They were bad defensively, so it's definitely not an issue of their game, and something we've got to be wary of. If we're zoning off, and if we're seeing McGovern zone off, if we're seeing Haynes zone off, which we see as well, he has been better, but he does have that tendency to zone off a bit like McGovern and probably give players a little bit too much leeway forward of the ball. But for me, it's Paul Curtis. Paul Curtis. I like to say the good old saying, he has got the CUNT, Patto, because
Yes.
he's exactly what we need.
Yes.
He's exactly what we need, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But a player like him would be perfect. Perfect. He can go in the middle here and there and have a 2-minute burst. He's a burst player, and he takes marks. He's good on the ground. He's just got a bit of aura about him, which all the youngins like to say about players and coaches these days. They have a bit of aura. He has that aura. Patrick Cripps has that aura. Paul Curtis has aura. And I really enjoy watching him play. So he's going to be a watcher. I'm not sure who picks him up. Is it Haynes? Maybe Haynes, Govan. I don't think a small takes him.
Yeah.
I think it has to be one of the interceptors that can. Haynes has had a few jobs. I think at Bobby Hill against Collingwood. He had Liam Ryan at points last week. So yeah, I think maybe Haynes to Curtis. But it's so hard to really, because we're not in the four walls. We really don't know where they have Haynes as a defender at. Who is he going to take? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch.
Yeah, I just think that if you have a guy like Nick Haynes playing on a Curtis, that means that you've also got Cam Zerha down there who is a bit of a threat. I just think, like, if you've got a guy like Ollie Hollands who is actually playing as a backline, like as a defender, you need to have him on a certain player. I don't think he'll play on Curtis because I think there's mismatches too much. But I think the only player really down there as like a genuine small forward is probably Constanti. But even like let's be real, I don't think he's a real world beater, Daffy boy. But yeah, like they don't really have a genuine small forward down there, which could be quite dangerous because they've got a few mid sizes like a Curtis, like a Cam Zerha, like a.
It's interesting because I've heard like he is considered a small forward.
Who?
Curtis. It's funny because people are talking about him as a small forward, and I think he can play. He's a little bit taller, but like I said a few weeks ago, I don't think there's a number one small forward currently in the AFL, and he's top 10 in the Coleman. I think he has the ability this season, Paul Curtis, to be the number one small forward if he just takes it by the scruff of the neck. Of course, there's Papley, but he's out. So he has the ability to do so, and he's going to be dangerous.
Yep. He's 185 centimeters and he's 22 years of age, man. Like, my good golly. He'd be so good for us. But I will be honest, I was going to say Paul Curtis as well, but I don't usually go with the same name as you. So I'll probably say Nick Larkey, but I think we've truly got him covered with Jacob Wettering going straight to him. And probably if Silvani does play in the back line, you probably would expect him to go straight to Darling, but I don't have Silvani in my back line. So that's why I probably would put Haynes straight to Darling, maybe a Gov to Curtis to a stretch.
Yep.
And kind of be on high alert, but then you just don't really know what you'll do with Cam Zerha. So maybe Silvani has to play back for that reason because they actually are quite tall, but they also have a few mid-sizes that is perfect for a guy like Nick Haynes and perfect for a guy like Mitch McGovern. So, I'll say Larkey, but I think Paul Curtis is obviously the big threat down there because he's been very good. And obviously against small forwards have always been very good against us. So that's something that needs to be on high alert. That needs to be a big look this week, like what we do with Paul Curtis. And I don't know, that's why a Cowan would be perfect. That's why Chin Cotter would be really good as well.
Yep.
So when he's fit, will be interesting to see what happens there. But Duff, let's now move on to our match predictions for this Friday. For the people who don't know what we do for the predictions, we go through Bag of the Game, which is the best player who we think will perform this week from Carlton. Point of difference, which is self-explanatory, and winner plus margin. And we've both given our spoiler as to who the winner will be this week,
Yeah.
but unsure about the margin. But Duff, your match predictions for this week, what have you got?
It's it's an interesting week. We've come off a win that, for me, I wasn't like it's not. I was happy, but it didn't feel like I'm not going on and watching the highlights and
Oh, no.
it was just a just get over the line type win. I'm not woo type. It was just like, okay, relief. As you might spit out your water there, Fatto. But yeah, for me, best on ground this weekend. Gonna be Jacob Wiedering. I think he's
Like
almost been our best on every week. I know George Hewitt's probably stiff. He is a Baggers Chat favourite, George Hewitt, but I'm gonna go with my man Jacob Wiedering. If he can keep Larky under 2 goals, I can see us winning this game of football. When he does not kick goals, they do not win. And he's always a bit of biff between those two.
there is, isn't there? Yeah, I've
Yeah,
noticed that.
well, there was a bit of history because when Weeders didn't make the All Australian team in 2021, there was a post. Cam Zerha commented on it saying, "There's no way he should be in the All Australian team because Larks kicked 7 on him." Remember, Larky kicked 7 on him in 2021. Ed Kerno's 200th game. It was COVID at Marvel Stadium. We weren't.
Yeah.
He kicked 7 goals on him. Zerha thought he was up himself and, said, oh, Larky kicked 7 goals on him. No way he should have made the All Australian team. And since then, he has kicked Larky's ass. And Zerha is a message to you, mate. You have done nothing against us. Nothing. So I know they could bite me in the ass and will be
100%.
they could, but don't be talking shit like that, mate. You have achieved nothing.
Yeah.
It's just it's bitten them in the ass the last 2 years. So Wiedering, hopefully that doesn't get clipped. It will be clipped by someone. And if it bites me in the ass, it bites me in the ass, Patto. But I'm willing to stand on this hill, on this grave, as they say. And my point of difference. It always comes to me last minute. It's always a last minute thing. I'm going to say it again. He was a point of difference last week. Corey Durden, under the roof. We said he's the West Coast specialist. Now it's time for him to be the North Melbourne specialist, Patto. The Good Friday specialist. Little Dirt. Imagine that, having that on your resume. Good Friday.
Good Friday specialist.
I'm not sure many people have that, but he will have that after this weekend's game, Mitchell Pattinson. But my prediction, I'm not trusting these boys. I'm not trusting them at all yet. But I think it's slowly, if we win this game, it will slowly, I'll get a little bit of confidence heading into Geelong. Blues by 19 points. And my number one reason for doing this, I went on ChatGPT today and I asked the AI, it gave me the full detail. It went through, so the AI went through 10,000 results of Carlton. It was some algorithm so they went through the game 10,000 times and got the result 10,000 times. And it came to a final result of 99 to 81 as the result for this weekend. So that is my tip, Patto. That's where I am right now. No, it was 99 to 80, so 19 points. So that's what I'm going with this week. And if that works well, I'm going to go to ChatGPT every week. And it could be positive, it could be negative.
We are well and truly living in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I feel like sports betting and stuff probably won't have a future for much longer because you can literally just ask AI and they probably will get it. They get it correct most of the bloody time.
Yeah. It'd be hard to be AI. AI would get beaten a lot of times because of Carlton, though.
Yep.
I think Carlton games kind of defy the whole logic of AI, I reckon, because AI would go, Carlton have got this comfortably and then would drop a game and then
And they lose.
then they wouldn't tip us and then would win. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly right. But as always, gamble responsibly. But
Yes, yes.
match predictions for mine, Daffy boy. Bagger of the game used to be last year. Used to be the bagger of the game specialist of Paddy Cripps,
Yep.
Tom Conning even. This
Yep.
year, Georgie fucking Hewitt. Bagger of the game, George Hewitt. What?
Yep.
He is second in the competition, equals second in disposals.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
In
And in the
line.
top 5 for tackles.
Yeah, there was I think number 4 as well for clearances as well.
Yep.
Crazy stuff. And it shows like we rate how he was sub last week, last year
And
is
dropped.
just and dropped as well. Unbelievable. And it just shows that he is well and truly looked at the coaching staff and be like, you know what, fuck you. I'm Georgie fucking Hewitt, and I am going to become he's getting closer to that Brownlow the Brownlow medal, mate. So he might need to get that speech ready. He might need to make sure that he doesn't name just his wife and kids, and also
Could be the
chicken
shortest.
and rice.
Could be the shortest speech in Brownlow history.
And then also the chicken and rice that he has every bloody night before a game, because he needs to really find some other stuff to talk about. Because if he wins a Brownlow medal, mate, he needs to be a little bit more out there. But I absolutely love how Georgie Hewitt's gone about it, and he will be my bagger of the game. Point of difference. It's been a player that has been a little bit quiet this year. We've given him a lot of opportunity, and it's really his time to stand up under the roof at Marvel Stadium. Jesse Motlop is going to be the point of difference. I just think it's either going to be Corey Durden or Jesse Motlop, because we were mentioning it before about their small defenders or medium-sized defenders. I don't think there's any threat, and they aren't great defensively. So I think it is a sliding doors moment for Corey Durden and Jesse Motlop to really pull their finger out. I mean, Durden did it last week. It's not really about Durden. It's more about Jesse Motlop and more Lockie Fogarty as well. Pull your finger out, impact on the scoreboard. So this is your opportunity, and I think point of difference will be Jesse Motlop this week. Winner plus margin. I didn't do the chat what is it? GPT or something?
Yeah, chat GPT.
I didn't even. Yeah,
shout out.
Shout out to AI to the that's funny. Winner plus margin for me. I'm gonna go Carlton. Well, obviously I said that earlier, but I'll go Carlton by 21 points.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's I could go more, could go less, could go the other side and tip North Melbourne. I'm not going to go so outlandish and say Carlton by 50 points. We should be doing it. We can do it. But we aren't going to trust them yet until they actually go out there and actually blow a team like North Melbourne, who's been solid this year, not great, not bad. Well, probably on more close to the side of bad. But yeah, this should be a team that really, realistically should not be a threat come this Friday. But as we love to say, Carlton have done it before, and I'm sure they will do it again. So, David Boy, before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on before we swing into the Good Friday clash? Or maybe we might need to rename it to the Corey Durden clash.
Well, it's just got to get around them this week. I say this every week, but let's just hope this is another win. Let's just get a win on the board. Then it's 2-4. I know, we're focusing on this week, and the game hasn't, come along yet. But and our team game hasn't come along yet. So hopefully we can see a 4-quarter effort. Defensively, we're good. Forward of the ball, we're good. Like you said, I want to see guys like Motlop having an impact. Guys like Fogarty having an impact. Don't want to see him missing.
No,
don't go missing tonight. This week's not the week, because I think North will have a sniff. They think we're vulnerable. We've got players out. Harry's out. He's played every Good Friday game and kicked probably 4 minimum in all those games. So it's just get it done. I don't want to be 1-5 and our only win is West Coast, Patto. That's not where I want to be at. I don't want to be 1-5 heading in Geelong. Oh Jesus. Yep.
God. Could you just imagine I mean, we can bloody imagine it because we've won.
Oh, absolutely.
We've already lost bloody 4 games this season, but
Mm.
that will be
Yeah.
that will be bad if we lose
Yeah.
this week. That will be fuck. Because now it's like you probably didn't expect it last week against West Coast, but now it's like,
Yeah.
we're kind of coming off a win. We can kind of be a little bit arrogant like we were against Richmond, and
Yeah.
just please win. But it's like a plead. Like,
oh, it's getting ridiculous. It's
just
ridiculous. We're still at this stage.
enter the stadium, please.
Yeah, I'll be praying. I think I'm sitting level 3, so I'll be praying for my level 3 seat.
You just look over and then you'll be like
on my knees, just praying.
Is that where we speak about like Geelong supporters and how calm they are?
Oh.
And then you see the difference. Every Carlton supporter is just like, please, please just get it done, please. It's a shit time to be a Carlton supporter. But well said, Dave Boy. And once again, another preview episode under our belt for the year. It goes quick. Round 6 this week. Goes bloody quick. But yeah, hopefully we head into next week against the Cats 2-4 and not 1-5, and hopefully not pleading next week against praying against the Cats to maybe get some wins, mate. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you do have any thoughts about the game this week or anything to do with the podcast, please let us know in the comments. We do try and reply to as many as we can. So please don't feel like you don't want to comment, because we might not reply, because we definitely do reply. And also make sure to, if you have any, comments that you want to send us a message about, or even email us, please do. Our email is in our link below, but also you have access to contact us on our socials, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. There's a few others out there that you can contact us by, but also get around our podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. There's a few others out there, Daffy Boy. Still haven't had them down pat. I probably should, but haven't had them down pat. But to you, Daffy Boy, please.
Pray to God.
Please. And to every single blue bagger out there.
Yeah, blue baggers.